If I would have been out of the league my second or third year, I would have been completely broke. Completely broke. And I think at that time I had acquired almost $2.5 million.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Wow Life and Business Conference podcast. Today we have a very special guest in the building, Tony Hills.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are super excited to just hear about your testimony, your story, and also I know you're going to drop some gems today. Okay, so Tony, I think you played. I recognize you played football before, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I dabbled.
Not just dabbled. Tell us more about your journey and start us even before football. I mean, tell us a little bit about yourself. The theme this year is embrace your journey.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. So my journey is paved in a space of perseverance and adversity, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So I was actually born here in Mesquite. But I didn't live here that long. I left when I was around 4, and I moved to a place called Southwest Alief, Texas. So
oh wow, what?
SWAT, Alief, Houston, y'all stand up. We made it, right? We here. We're on the Wow podcast, so we doing big things.
Hey, represents, yes.
But yeah, so grew up in a pretty rough environment. At one point, it was one of the top murder capitals. And
wow.
So having to just navigate your way through that, you pick up a lot of skills, right? And you learn how to maneuver and how to talk to people with respect.
Right.
It can be the difference of you being here or not, right? So I learned how to talk to people at an early age. But sports was always my caveat of not falling into the traps that were there, right? And so when I was 14, I went to Spain for the Junior Olympics, and I actually played basketball there for the whole summer. And that was a beautiful journey. Just, coming up from that space and thinking that, okay, this is all that life is, and then leaving the country at an early age and then expanding your horizons. I think that was the first time that I realized that you're not a product of your environment. You're a product of your choices. Yeah. Right. And so whatever choices you decide to make, that dictates your circumstance. So like I chose to play sports to dive into that, make sure that my grades were up, and it took me across the country. That's what I learned at 14. So when I came back with a new perspective, I pretty much gave up basketball because I was, when you grow up in an area that's rough like that, you take on that type of mentality. Yeah. And so football was my outlet to be able to, my coach said that I could hit somebody and not get in trouble for it. I was like, sign me up. Right? And so let's rock. And so I found out that I was pretty good. So I played the tight end position. Okay. I was the number 1 tight end in the state of Texas, and then the number 6 player in the country. Wow. And then, so God blessed me in that space. And I went to the Capitol, and there's a house clearing recognition that they did for me my senior year. It's called ACR 98. So y'all can look that up. But that was my number in high school. And so again, just leveraging this sport thing to teach me about manhood, like, how men talk to one another. Understanding that if a coach is yelling and screaming at you, that's actually an endearment. Because he trusts and he believes in you so much. There's something that you're not doing on a consistent basis that's pulling that frustration out of him because he believes in you. Right. I think a lot of times when if we grew up and we didn't have that manly presence in the house, we might take that as disrespect. Right. But my mom always told me, don't look at the messenger, listen to the message. So once I was able to do that, shifted my perspective. And so now that got me to, as we continue this journey, to understand how to talk when I'm talking to people in business, because it can get kind of rough with the language, right? So from there, I actually got hurt my senior year, and I had developed what was called drop foot. So this when your ankle naturally goes up and down, you're able to elevate it. But when you get this perennial nerve damage, you lose the dorsiflex action. So it's kind of like just limp. There's no signal firing to the nerve. So that was a dark time. But, I had a praying mom and I had faith. And so God brought me through that. Was able to grab a full scholarship from the University of Texas. And here's the thing, too, because we were talking a little earlier about adversity. So prior to me getting hurt, I had scholarships from every school in the country, right? Once I got
even Iowa State?
Yes.
You know, go Cyclones. Sorry, I had to do a shameless plug there. Okay, keep going.
That's all good. That's all good. Yeah, they recruited me too. But after I got hurt, they all left.
Mm-hmm.
So that story is it's paramount as we continue to go through the journey, because you start to see that when you're at your highest, everybody's around.
Right.
But when you go into that dark space,
scatter.
They all disappear. So I learned that at an early age, right? So these are lessons that I've been able to pick up before I'm even 21 years old, right? But shout out to Mac Brown. He told me, hey, Tony, we recruited you for the man that you are, not just a player. So there's a scholarship waiting on you, and we believe you'll get back. I took it, and that was the greatest decision I ever made. And so went to the University of Texas, and through there, not only did I get my education, but I picked up a national championship, picked up a couple Big 12 championships on the football field. And then we move on to the NFL. I was drafted in the 4th round by Pittsburgh, and then I won a Super Bowl with them. So God's plan is not our plan, and it's an old
His ways
proverb.
are not our ways.
That's the one. So it says that men plans, but God laughs. Right. So
Right.
I'm glad that I went through the journey, because it got me to the point to where we're going to go next into the NFL.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the whole story in itself. Like, I'm just blessed by that testimony in itself. So we get to the NFL, right? So I know now you are the founder of Stat Financial.
Yes.
Which, by the way, we want to dive into that here in a second.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I know a lot of people who play at such a high level, once they get out of the NFL, it's like, where do I go? What do I do next? I'm actually watching the show Ballers right now.
Oh, man, phenomenal show.
So it's perfect that we're because we're having this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, you kind of get where I'm going with this.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, where do I go now? Football has been my entire life. I mean, I've been trained to be basically like a mini gladiator.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's like, what do I do now that I'm leaving football? So, I mean, for you to leave football, go into, founding Stat Financial, talk to us about that transition.
Yeah, no. So funny story. The guy that is the creative writer for that show is actually a teammate of mine, Rashard Mendenhall.
What?
Yeah.
Shout out, Rashard.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. Well, shout out, because he owed me some royalties. He put one of my stories in that freaking show.
What?
We're not gonna get that. We're not gonna drop that exclusive. Bygones are bygones. But when I see him, he owe me. But no, it's so crazy that you talk about that and all of the statistics as it pertains to athletes. And let me dive into that a little bit. Yes, to the fact that there's a lot of athletes, or there's many athletes that don't know what to do when it comes to transitions. But there are, some of us, or many of us, that actually do have those transitional plans. And so I think that we definitely want to help those that haven't, but highlight those that do. I think there's a stigma on the NFL when it comes to retirement and retired guys that, we're not capable. And I don't buy into that. But to answer your question, yes, the transition is very difficult. I think that's why military and athletes and even corporate execs, they all pair up, right? Even though they're in different lanes, they run parallel. They all have issues with transitioning, whether it's the corporate exec that's getting ready to transition into retirement, or whether it's the military guy that's getting ready to transition back into, the regular world, so to speak, right? There's a transitional phase to where, what do I do next? And a lot of that comes from improper planning, right? Without the vision, the people perish, right? And so I think that what I've been able to see when it comes to the paradox of that is, I've played a sport and I've been told what to do my entire life, right? And so now I've made all of this money. Hopefully I've kept it, but at least I've made all of this money. I have a plethora of options, but I've never really had to think for myself.
Right.
I think that's the biggest downside of the NFL, is not showing guys how to think outside of this space. Because when you're you're a football player, right? You're, like you said, a mini gladiator, right? Like see ball, get ball on defense. Offense, like, it's a little different, because schematics and understanding secondaries and coverages and all of these things, but it's still in just that one space. When did you have the time, if you didn't take advantage of it in the off season, to expound on all of the different opportunities that you had? Nobody taught you, right? If you look at the age bracket, the majority of the guys that you watch in the NFL are in their early to mid 20s.
Mm-hmm.
There's a smaller percentage of guys that are over 30 because it's a young man's game. So what 21, 22, or 23-year-old that's making millions of dollars are you going to be able to tell them, hey, you might want to think about your future? I can't even listen. I'm getting paid.
Right. Right.
Like you, like the world knows my name, right? So there's a pride thing that's in there as well. But one of the things that we've tried to do at Stat on the side outside of the financial space is, I really have a heart for my brothers and I want them to do well. And so there's a couple of guys that's gotten to the industry that I'm in, and it's been good for them. They're able to find that creativity and they're able to find that team environment. I think that's the biggest thing that we're seeing from guys that's transitioning now.
Right. Yeah. Wow. No, that's really good. So you are the president and CEO of Stat Financial. Talk to us about Stat and how can somebody get, involved with Stat?
Yeah, absolutely. So Stat Financial is actually an acronym of my family. So all of my kids, right? And so but basically what we do is we help corporate execs fortify their retirement portfolios through guaranteed returns and secure money management. And then additionally, we help small businesses by providing what we call alternative benefit solutions. So it creates cost-effective benefits for them to mitigate net profit loss from employee turnover. So all of that fancy elevator pitch speak is we help corporate execs keep their money and we help small businesses go make more money as well as keep their money, right? And so that industry kind of fell into my lap through mentors. I was introduced to the insurance industry through one Marshall Faulk, who was a Hall of Fame running back. And once he kind of gave me the blueprint, I then took that and created my own thing, so to speak. And so now, people go to stattfs.com, they'll be able to see exactly what it is that we do in that arena. But we're here to help not only these particular individuals in our market, but we want to help everybody. So we do educational things. I post a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. I'm not really on the other platforms as much. I'm going to start.
I see you on LinkedIn though.
Yes.
If you want a good message on LinkedIn, connect with Tony.
I love LinkedIn, man. Like I didn't really know about it. I was on the Instagrams and the Twitters and all of that, but once I feel like I got my legs under me on LinkedIn, and so we're going to transition into YouTube. I'll start doing more. Speaking engagements and things of that nature and putting all that out there just to get the message out so that people can understand that there is ways to create what we coin as financial foundational leverage for you and your family. I know the biggest thing right now is everybody is into, I want to create generational wealth, right? Generational wealth. I don't think people understand exactly what generational wealth entails. It's not dealing with the money, right? So if you look at the two wealthy families back in the early 1900s, right? So you had the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts. A lot of times what people don't know is that the Vanderbilts at that time were actually more wealthy than the Rockefellers, but they lost their wealth within 3 to 4 generations because they were socialites, right? So they didn't protect their money, right? So they had it for a certain amount of generations, but it wasn't sustainable. What John D did was he put things in place and created systems.
Right.
And then the family followed the system. And that's how we continue to see it rolling today. So you have to understand the mental economics before we can ever get to the financial economics, right?
Yeah. And I think that that is huge.
Yeah.
Because a lot of small business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, it's like, if you come from nothing.
Yeah.
And then you obtain, a substantial amount of money. It's like, okay, what do I do with it? If I don't know what to do with it, then I'm more prone to losing it,
Listen, I'll be fully transparent with the audience, man. And I don't think I've ever discussed this with anybody I've talked to, but my first 3 years of the league, if I would have been out of the league my second or third year, I would have been completely broke. Completely broke. And I think at that time I had acquired almost $2.5 million. 20-some years old. Yeah, I'll buy that cash. I'll buy that cash. It wasn't until like somebody sat me down and was like, "Hey, bro, you got about 400,000 or 500,000 left. Like, you need to chill out." I'm like, "Oh wow," right? I had an opportunity to meet with some good people on the financial side, and then I was able to have a longer career. So I almost played 10 years. And it was through that time that I got smart and started understanding like budgeting, like investing, 401k plans, tax qualified plans, insurance, fixed index annuities. Like I have stuff that's paying me now on things that I did 15 years ago. And that's because of the older guys that were in the locker room that sat me down. And so two things. One, you have to have guys that have been there to be able to teach you what to do. And then on the younger person side, you have to be willing to be taught. So like we're talking about walking on water and leveraging the Bible. Well, in the book of Acts, there was a man that was traveling from a far country going to Jerusalem, and he was reading the Bible, and the angel told the prophet to go speak to him. And as he was reading the story on Yeshua. And the guy, the prophet asked him, he said, understanding what thou readest. So the older teacher is asking the younger person, do you know what you're reading? Now, at that particular time, that man can have some pride about himself and be like, yeah, I know, I don't need no help. Or you can do what he did and said, how can I unless some man come and teach me? That's where I was. And because I did that, I stepped outside of myself. I humbled myself. I realized I didn't know what I was doing. I had people help me out at an early age that's taking care of my family today. But you got to be open and willing to be like, hey, man, I just don't get it. I don't know. Right. And it's easy for people to judge that situation. But until you're in that situation, you don't understand. And that's why like a lot of the athletes that I deal with, they rock with me because I'm open with them. Like, bro, I see the path that you're on. And I thank God that he put me on that journey because I have a 20/20 vision on the path that you're on. And I can promise you where this is going to end if we don't change things.
Right.
And so when they feel that, they're like, all right, bro, I want to listen. So I'm thankful for that opportunity that I went through what I went through. And I'm also thankful that he prolonged my career to get back on track.
Because some people don't get that chance.
They don't.
They, God forbid, they break a ankle.
Yeah. Yes.
They lose that dorsiflexion.
That dorsiflex, boy, you out of there. You out of there. This is a hard time.
Yes.
And so we just want to help people. That's what it's about.
Yeah. I love it. And your story is just so powerful. I mean, so you talked about your father.
Yeah.
Your father of 5.
Yeah.
4 boys.
1 girl.
1 girl.
Yeah. So Tristan, Tylen, Tobin, Talia, that's my princess.
Come on with the T's.
Yeah, we rolling with that. Yeah. It's Tony the Tycoon with Staff Financial, and then we got all the T's that follow. So yeah, I did that intentionally.
I absolutely love that.
Emphasis on intentionally.
I love it. So how do you balance, being a father, a family man, and still balancing your career?
It takes a village. So, the wife holds it down at the house while I'm out here doing everything that I need to do. And then it's a sacrifice. To be honest, I can't speak for other entrepreneurs, but there is no balance in my life, right? When this career gives me the opportunity to enjoy moments, I'm all in on those moments.
I love
so
it.
If I can, like for instance, my child is playing in a basketball game. All right, if I go to that basketball game, I'm locked in, phone off. I'm clapping. We're doing everything we need to do. Now I got them. I'm getting ready to have them waking up with me on Wednesdays at 5 a.m. So
to work out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
It's that time. But you just have to find the wins that this career gives you, and then take advantage of it. Right. And really, truly be in the moment, because this is their second go around of that for my older two. My younger ones, they didn't get to see me when I played. But when I played sports, I had to be all in. Right. And I missed a lot. I missed. So think of this. I had my first son when I was 25, right? 24, 25. So that's my first, that's my child, right? He has my middle name, right? His middle name is my first name. That's me. I was not there for his first day of school because I was in training camp.
Right.
That's a big thing for me. I'll never get that moment back. And there's a lot of sacrifices and moments like that. But at the same time, because I did this, it put him in early learning academies that now have him soaring to where he's getting all A's in all of his classes.
Right.
So I can only speak from a man's perspective. As a father, we're going to make a lot of sacrifices, especially if we're wanting to build or obtain something. You just have to have in the back of your mind that you're doing this for a reason, and it's going to get greater later. But it's not easy. Yeah.
That's really good. Staying on family.
Yeah.
So you have a wife.
Yeah.
So how do you balance career, marriage, father? And what advice do you have for somebody who's watching who might be in your position?
You take moments, right? So for me, look on the calendar. Is it coffee dates? Is there an opportunity to go on a date? Right? I mean, now, got the young one, so it's more going to be brunch.
You're strapping.
Yeah,
you're strapping the baby on.
Yeah,
we're taking them with.
It's more going to be brunch type of situations, but you pencil those moments in. I think the biggest thing you have to do, and I had to learn this. Nobody taught this to me. Is you just have to have a real conversation, and let her know, like, okay, we have two options. I can go work for somebody else, clock in 9 to 5, be home at these particular times, have the weekends off, and we can do this for the next 30, 40 years, maybe get a pension, right? Maybe put our kids through school, all of these particular things, and then build up their company. Or I can put in late hours, late nights, different speaking engagements, meeting different corporate clients, business owners, all throughout the night and the day, and do that for years. Probably don't see a dime for the first 3 or 4 years.
Right. Say that again. Say that again to this camera, so that way, because people out here trying to quit already. It takes some time. Tell them.
Yeah. Probably not see a dime for the next 3 to 4 years. You robbing Peter to pay Paul, all of these different things. But once this thing takes off, we're set forever, right? And so you got to have that real conversation. And you got to be, as the man, you have to be real with yourself, because they might not agree with it. And that's when I say, I respect your opinion, but I'm going to go anyway.
I'm a lead.
Yeah. Because I look at it like this. I'm pretty sure when Noah was building that boat on dry land and all of them people was talking about this idiot talking about it's going to rain from the sky. It never happened before. All the water came from the dew of the ground. There was no rain that ever took place during that time. Like, look at this idiot building this large vessel on dry land. I can only imagine his family might have felt some embarrassment. But had he listened to this family and those people, they'd all be dead.
Correct.
So I've learned that this is the way, walking in it, and I'm gonna do what God tell me to do, and he gonna have to have the rest. And so there's emotions and things that take place in that. I let him handle that. I'm gonna keep moving, right? Because a lot of times I think what stops individuals is that you're sitting up here trying to explain a vision that was never given to anybody but you.
That is mic drop. Like, we had to pause for a second for that. Say that again.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times what hold individuals back is that you're trying to explain your vision to everybody else, and the vision was only given to you, right? And so it's not that they don't want to see, it's that they can't, because God didn't open their eyes. It's like when Elijah was dealing with his servant, and the servant came back and reported, like, man, they got all these soldiers over there. He was like, we have more with us than they do with them. Now, Elijah sees all of the angels. The servant looking around like, man, I trust this dude, but he tripping. Like, it ain't nobody but you and me over here. What are you talking about? But then when Elijah said, Lord, open his eyes, then he saw the gambit of angels that was around him. It's the same thing. Even in your marriage. Like, I think that it's hard on both ends. It's hard for the man if he feels that he has a vision and he's moving in a direction, but he's not seeing the fruits of the labor yet. Right. And I think it's hard for the woman because she wants to trust him, but women's biggest thing is security. So here's the faith test. For the man, the faith test is trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not to thy own understanding. For the woman is to honor the husband as you would Christ and believe in the vision that was given, because you have to have faith that even though things are not stable right now, that God is working with him. He has to have faith that even though he doesn't see this thing coming into fruition, God has him on this mission and it will happen. Those are the two different battles that are fought. So it's still onus on the woman, just like it's onus on the man. It's just in two different areas.
Right.
Right. So as long as y'all can come together and understand, like, hey, listen, this is the way, babe. We're gonna walk in this way. Just trust me. And then
we're gonna live the wild life.
You're gonna live the wild life, right? And if she does do that, she's gonna be inherently blessed. Because I can promise you, any man that is with a woman that has been with him through his down times, when he come up, it's innately in us as men. I can't speak to boys, right? I'm gonna talk about men. It's innately in us to want to reward our helpmeet. And I think that a lot of times our sisters have forgotten, like, if you want to get real technical on the scriptures, men was made in the image of God. Women came from the image of man. He said, it is not good for man to be alone. So let me create a help meet unto him. Help meet what? Help meet the vision that I've placed in that man. So our sisters are being tricked and fooled thinking that, hey, this thing is 50-50. No, sis. The same way that Christ is under submission to Yah, and the angels are under submission to Christ, is the same way as the man, he's under submission to Yah and to Yeshua. The woman needs to be into submission to man. And if you align yourself with that and don't look at that word as a negative word and don't be fooled by that, you'll feel so much at peace. Like all the sisters that I know that move like this, talk to them. Girl, I don't worry about nothing. I'm with my children. He take care of everything. I go what I want. I drive what I want. I eat when I want. And I don't worry about nothing. Yeah. And he's operating 100% within the gift that he has because you're taking care of home.
I'm gonna flip it one more time and then we go. I know you probably got some meetings.
Yeah, it's all good.
That you got to get to. Flip it one more time.
Good, yeah.
So now, talk to some of the brothers who might be, listening as well, because you made amazing points.
Yeah.
So you noted, you said this is for men. Not boys.
Doubt.
So talk to us on that regard.
The hardest thing you'll ever do, especially if you never had like real male guidance, is to work on yourself. Mm-hmm. And the biggest component of self-work is 100% responsibility as a man, like good or bad, right? If, like, for instance, if you deal with relationships, if there's a divorce that takes place, don't blame nobody but yourself. I don't care what she did. Don't matter. Because at the end of the day, God is a God of accountability.
Right.
Right. So he'll look at it. Remember. So where do I get that from? Remember in the garden of Eden, when sin was introduced because of idolatry, right? People going against God and taking on a different thought process than what God gave, right? I said don't, Satan says does, woman takes it, gives it to the husband, yada yada. I know the story. Who did God call for when he touched down?
Adam.
I don't remember him saying, Eve, where art thou? Now, Eve initiated it, right? But he didn't say, Eve, where art thou? Why? Because Adam, I gave you the understanding. I told you to be the leader. I don't care what she do. This happened because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. So because you listened to your wife, now this is what's going to take place, right? So as men, you got to take 100% accountability. And unfortunately, even when you look in that story, that's why a lot of times I say a lot of brothers operate in that Adam spirit, is because when you read down in the book of Genesis, the first thing Adam do is say, well, the woman you gave to me.
He did.
Like it's a thing.
He put Eve on blast like that. And he was really out here just bamboozled.
Yeah. And so, but like if you look at
I'm gonna forgive Eve now. Because I had a little bit, a little bit of when I got to heaven, I was gonna talk to Eve for a little bit.
Well,
I was gonna be so was the apple good? Did it taste juicy? Was it good? I was gonna do it, but now I forgive. See, now you've helped me in my heart.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I'm still gonna talk to him, be like, sis, like I need to understand. Like we're gonna get on Adam. I just need to understand. But anyways, like real talk, like, but when you look at that story, what I get from it is, okay, this happened in Adam's home, in his household. God didn't go after the woman, he came after the man because you're the sheep of my flock. I gave before she ever existed, it was you and I. Mm-hmm. So regardless of what she did, you separated the covenant between you and I. And I need you to acknowledge that. And he never acknowledged that. So for me in my life, regardless, good or bad, right, wrong, or indifferent, I'll stand up and be like, yeah. I don't know if y'all got to edit that out, but
no, for lack of better terms,
I did. Like, sometimes you got to just be real, right? Regardless if you believe that it's your fault or not, take the accountability, because what happens is now you can grow from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get into other situations that have similarities to that one, you'll know how to handle it. But if you never take that responsibility as a man, then you got to think about this. It's not only affecting you, but if you have children, what do you think they're going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now you're creating a bunch of people that don't take responsibility. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous.
Wow. So I want to go more in depth, but we can't, because then February 17th, we gonna save a lot of this for February 17th. I am just so excited that you'll be on the stage. And guys, look, if you have not gotten your ticket yet for the Wildlife and Business Conference, it's February 17th, 12 to 7 p.m., livethewildlife.com. If you loved, like I did, this interview, this podcast episode with Tony, right below in the comments, 3 takeaways that you got from it. Please tune in with us on February 17th, and also tune in to Stat Financial, and all his information will also be in the bio. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.